Hi everyone, I'm here today with Marie-Claire Graf. She's a very, very engaged person in climate actions and making the voice of the youth heard. So, Marie-Claire, I know you from very different initiatives. You have an impressive record of initiatives linked to climate change. For example, the Sustainability Week Switzerland and International. You were part of Jungo at the different COPs, the Swiss Youth for Climate, and etc. Um, so you've even been called the Swiss Greta Thunberg, so that's very impressive. So my question to you today is actually what now you've been selected as a champion of the Food System Summit. So first, what is this summit, and then what does it mean to be a champion, and also maybe how were you selected to be a champion?
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me for this very important topic. And it's also great that you have some young people on board. So the United Nations Food System Summit was like the Secretary General of the United Nations was saying that we need to transform our food systems according to science to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. And because this is one of the agenda the United Nations is achieving for, and it's impossible to reach these goals without the transformation of our food system. We can maybe talk a little bit later about it. So they want to convene a food system summit across all the different UN entities, but also with a heavily involvement of civil society and of course also the member states. That's why they have different groups, and one of them is the Champions Network. And our role as champions is really to inspire and drive the agenda towards the Food System Summit. Because they want to really be a people summit, so that the voice of ordinary people like myself is also included, and it's not only a high level summit. So this is really important to them. That's why they have this champions network. The champions are chosen on different areas. They are different. They are also like different tracks, and they're different thematics, and they have been trying to select champions from all the different parts around the world and all the different areas. And since I'm very involved on the policy level, you already mentioned on climate and biodiversity, they wanted to especially have this aspect from my side. And of course, they have also a large group of young people, so they really try to be mindful about different generations as well.
Okay, yeah, it's really nice. Actually, you told me that it's very important food systems in achieving the agenda 2030. So maybe with your link to climate change and biodiversity, can you tell me a bit more about why are food systems so important?
Yeah, so the food system, the current one we are having, is a huge contributor to three of the major crises we are facing today. And one of them is the climate crisis. The other is the biodiversity crisis and the sixth mass extinction we are in. And the other one is about nutrition and health. So I am very active, as you already mentioned, on the climate crisis and also on biodiversity one. And there is simply no way how we can solve this crisis if you're not going to transform and fix our food system, because the current food system is contributing roughly around 1/3 of the global greenhouse gas emissions. So of course we can all talk about also about transportation, about housing, but if you're not going to really address the elephant in the room, which is in this case the food system, we can simply not make it. And that's also why I'm so passionate. And on the other hand, also because that's a lot to do with justice and equality. And it's very important to address this as well. So there is the climate component, but also our current food system is really unequal currently. I just yesterday read a report that 1% of the farmers are actually farming 70% of the farmable land around the world. And it's, I mean, like from various different perspectives, this is just not like it's just like it's simply not okay. It really can't be like this. But also yeah, from the health perspective, we're facing now the corona pandemic, and there's so many aspects to this food system which need to be transformed, and it can be transformed. You know, like there are so many solutions. We already have them at hand, and most of them are actually cheap. So we don't need like the fancy high technology and all the new inventions. Of course, they're also great, and I'm not going against them, but we already have solutions. I mean, permaculture, indigenous peoples living like with agroecology and forestry. I mean, there are so many solutions out there, and it's absolutely not understandable for me why we have not done this yet. that's why I'm very eager to be engaged and try to make it from my support that the transformation is going to happen very soon.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I was very involved also in the unequal part of the food systems in my studies. So I fully agree with what you said. Um, Also, what makes me very angry is to say that we produce enough food for everyone, but still so many people are living in hunger. So yeah, so there's a lot to do in our food systems. Now, my question to you has more to do with the youth. So you said that you were part of many youth association organizations to make the voice of the youth heard. Um, my a bit controversial question is how to make sure that the voice of the youth are taken into account, or the voice of farmers or indigenous people, and not only just listen to, but then not taken into account, like tokenism, how it's um, said like normally. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the Food Systems Summit itself, how it's organized and how the setting looks like, is a very good example of how exactly we can go against this tokenism, which is going on, and it's in different spaces. It's really frustrating. But so from the very beginning on, the Secretariat was keen on having young people in key positions and taking key, like already in the setting up, we could actually like influence the setting quite a lot. So I was involved from the very beginning, and with many other young people, with indigenous peoples, with farmers, and so on. And we had a voice now. Our voice was taken seriously. So there are these 5 different action tracks. So there are 5 different areas of engagement, and in all of them, they have a vice chair, which is young. So they have make sure that like in a top position there is a young person who is influencing the agenda, who's influencing the events, and who can, of course, also bring in their own network and their own voice. But also, as mentioned, in the Champions Network, we have a lot of young people. I don't exactly know, like in the research network, but I assume there are also some young people. Probably in the UN network, there are probably less young people, but they make sure that the voice of young people is heard. We're also doing some regional youth consultations now. But of course, I mean, what you're talking about is a very important topic, because often our views are going against also maybe the current system, and this can then not be addressed because there's like, oh, the system is like this. That's why I think the Food System Summit is a good example, but of course it really needs to spread, and we need to have such structures all over the different summits and all over the UN, and I mean also in the countries. I mean, it's not only for the UN. So it's very important. I think it's also very good that we young people are mindful about it. And I mean, like sometimes I've felt tokenized in the past, and I also sometimes like rejected some offers because it was just like, okay, this is not going to, you're listening to me. This is just like to check the box of youth, and I don't want to be your checkbox. So yeah, we have to be mindful about this, of course.
So Marie-Claire, what is the most important thing for you that needs to be changed in our food system so that it becomes sustainable and more equal in the future?
I think there are actions on 2 different levels. One is the policy level and one is the individual level. And I think we all know what we have to do on an individual level. But I think it's very important that the policy level is also changing accordingly. This can be about subsidies, it can be about policies who are supporting us as consumers and as well as the farmers to live more sustainable and go through this food systems transformation.
Thank you very much, Marie-Claire.